You're watching Channel 4. In half an hour, Julie and Clary must try to survive without double entendres and shtick, attempting to get by on wit alone, as another celebrity is heterosexual for a day. But first, Dr. Macclevoid's here with the movies. Tonight, don't they know it's the end of the world? 'Cause you don't love me anymore. Or you've fired a nuclear missile at me, and that may precipitate nuclear Armageddon. As we look at Catherine Bigelow's house full of dynamite. Or whatever it's called. Yeah, hello there. Recently, I had this overwhelming feeling of dread, existential dread, and I started to think that maybe very, very soon I was going to die. And I've tried to take some precautions, as you can see, drinking Lucozade. But of course, if I am about to shuffle off this mortal coil, if this is the last you see of me, Lucozade isn't going to be enough to forestall my certain fate, is it? That's not going to do it. Because if you think about it, each and every one of us, though it sounds alarmist, are actually only minutes away from death at any one time. It's an extraordinary thing to say, but it's true. And the reason for that is not because you might walk out onto the street and get hit by a Waitrose delivery van, or you might be hit by a bolt of lightning, or you might be mauled to death by your cat or something along those lines, although all of those things could and do happen. But because, of course, we live in a world of nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons that can decimate human civilization. It's a nightmare we've grown up with in the movies all of our lives. Though if you were a child of the 80s, like myself, it was a sort of ever-present threat, although movies like War Games, most notably, made it fun as well.
So, shall we play a game? Oh.
I think I missed them.
Yeah, weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Love to. How about global thermonuclear war? Wouldn't you prefer a good game of chess? Later, let's play global thermonuclear war. Fine. All right.
You got, the best of both worlds. You got the tech, the war room at NORAD, and the fun of hacking into computers and playing games. There you go. That's not a movie having its cake and eat it. I don't know what is. Tack on an anti-war message. Bob's your uncle. Job done. Reputation vouchsafed for a generation. But if you know anything about nuclear war, as of course I do, you'll know that we're always just one accident away from being annihilated. There's been numerous incidents over the years. Electronic outages that were almost mistaken for nuclear attacks. Boris Yeltsin, a notorious pisshead and drunk who at one point had to be restrained because he got in a bit of a mood and decided he was going to launch his nukes at the United States. And today we live in a febrile world where, we've got idiots with their hands on the button. Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin. It's almost impossible, isn't it, to feel safe, don't you think? So perhaps that's in the air, that sense of dread, that sense of feeling unsafe. And maybe that's why we've got Catherine Bigelow's new movie, The House of Dynamite, The House Full of Dynamite, Dynamite Hill, The City on Dynamite Hill, whatever it's called. It's a film about nuclear war, basically. And what it does is it imagines a terrifying situation in which an unknown state that cannot be verified because for whatever they have not had a launch detection, therefore they cannot be certain where the missile comes from.
Why didn't we get a launch detection?
I'm not sure, sir. We're checking for DSP malfunction.
Without warning, launched at the US, specifically Chicago. What's Chicago done? Maybe it's the city that you attack if you want to hedge your bets. You're going to fire one missile. You don't want to destroy Washington. That's too much of a provocation. You don't want to destroy New York because maybe that's where your favourite television programmes are made. I don't know. So you go for Chicago. No one's going to miss Chicago, the Windy City. Blow it up. And maybe the Americans will retaliate. Maybe they won't. That calculation is there in the movie. We see the same sort of half-hour incident played out from three different perspectives. There's perspective of those in the White House Situation Room, the perspective of the sort of the generals and the Central Intelligence people who've got to try and work out what the hell's going on and buy some time on the president's behalf, make recommendations to the president, speak to their opposite numbers in unfriendly regimes and try to, barter for the future of the world by saying, look, if you absolutely promise not to capitalise on the situation, we won't preemptively launch our entire arsenal to decimate your country. But we have to have your reassurance you won't do anything. We have to be sure that you won't capitalise. And then there's the third section, which is the perspective of Idris Elba's President of the United States, a former sports star who, as presidents always seem to be doing when there's a national crisis, is not at the White House, but visiting a school somewhere or something. In this case, he's gone to a kiddies basketball game when he learns that there is a nuke in transit, and he has to, ride to Marine One, and then he's got to try and work out what the hell to do while in the air and all the rest of it. And we get little bits of each of these stories from different perspectives. And sometimes that works very well indeed, because it means that even though we're familiar with the sequence of events, we're not privy to certain conversations or little background details that complicate the situation, which we only learn about when the perspective changes. That's quite a nice little device to layer the movie and add substance to the situation. Because if you did it in a conventional linear manner, you'd be trying to tell the story of 25 characters simultaneously, which would be extremely difficult, be a bit of a head scratcher, wouldn't it? So they didn't do that. Went for multiple perspectives. And that's good. That works very well. But this is just about the situation itself. It's about acting with no information. So if you're going to be one of these people that complains because, spoiler, the movie does not tell us who launched the attack, and we do not get to see whether the nuclear weapon in question is a dud. You know, each segment ends at the point of impact, so we don't know if it goes off. We're told it might not. Sometimes they malfunction, we're told. They don't go off. We learned that the countermeasures for such an attack, which cost $50 billion, don't always work either. It's like trying to hit a bullet with a bullet, Mr. President. That's what they tell poor Idris.
God damn it, I'd piss on a spark plug if I thought it'd do any good.
This is not about pyrotechnic thrills, okay? And it's not really about real geopolitics. I mean, who would you finger as the attacker? You're not going to really make a movie, are you, in which Russia is the villain, or China's the villain, or North Korea is the villain. You don't want to upset them by making a major movie in which they destroy the world. Mainly because these are countries run by lunatics who are so thin-skinned they might watch the thing and think, fuck, why not? Let's do it. Let's make the fantasies of these crazy Americans come true. No. Because it's not about that. Of course they're all name-checked. Of course, in an attempt at sort of geopolitical realism, it's discussed why they might do it, what they have to gain, etc., etc. The possibility of a rogue state is also discussed. The politics of firing just one missile, like a provocation, a tester, is discussed. Is this a country trying to test the retaliatory muscle of the United States, or is this a nuclear weapon that's fallen into the hands of terrorists and they only had the one? And for reasons unknown, they hate Chicago. I don't know. I went to Chicago once. I thought it was fine. A lot of begging on the street of Chicago. But that's not reason enough to destroy it in my eyes. Maybe in yours. But maybe you're psychotic. So, it's a movie about performances, naturalistic, grounded, realist performances. Jared Kushner is the senator who's got to call his daughter up, who lives in Chicago, but can't tell her that she's about to be vaporized. So tries to be content that she will die with her boyfriend if indeed the nuke goes off. Idris sitting in Marine One contemplating the various retaliatory scenarios that he's been given and thinking, well, I don't want to do it. I don't want to kill millions and millions of people. What if it's a mistake, etc.? Do I want to be the guy who destroyed the world? Rebecca Ferguson as the White House Situation Room lackey who's got to call her husband and tell him to grab the kid and go west because life is peaceful there in the open air. Movie of character moments juxtaposed with military jargon. And unlike war games, which I mentioned at the beginning, it's not a funny movie. There's no gags here. There's no general gag. Well, gee, I'd piss on a spark plug if I thought it would do any good. It's none of that. Everyone's very straight-laced and serious. Tears in their eyes. And the style is very naturalistic too. Bigelow goes for a sort of a Paul Greengrass kind of documentary realism aesthetic, handheld camera, rapid edits, close-ups on conference calls that don't quite work properly, things like that. You know the sort of thing. I found it to be a thoughtful piece, and I was never anything less than intrigued or hooked on the sort of doomsday scenario. I liked that it was limited and that it was therefore ambiguous. It would have been easy to make a movie about a full-scale nuclear strike on the US, but then where would be the tension? Where would be the moral dilemma? Of course, if China or Russia fired 2,000 missiles at America would have to retaliate and destroy them. That's mutually assured destruction. That's the nuclear doctrine. That's why, please God, there will never be a nuclear war. And if I'm wrong about that, and you've put together this data asset from whatever you could scrape from the remnants of what used to be called the internet, and you're watching this on a space station in the year 2371, nobody's perfect. I get it wrong, just as you got it wrong all your life. So this is a continuation of Catherine Bigelow's transformation from sort of slick Hollywood action to kind of realist geopolitical thrillers. Do we like the more mature, more restrained Catherine? Do we miss the days when Keanu Reeves used to fight a lawnmower? Yes, we do. It'd be great to see Bigelow make a balls out all action spectacular again. But she knows that these days that's not where the eyeballs are. She'd only be accused of, regressing career-wise. These days she makes Oscar bait. And I suppose that's what this is. Although released direct to Netflix. Oh yes, you won't find. Don't go looking for it in the cinema. You won't find it there. It's on your humble Netflix account. That being where it is, it's probably not going to win a lot of statues. Though I think it did have like a token 1 week release in the cinema in some locations, so that it would be eligible. Because Netflix really are that cynical. As cynical as a rogue state firing a nuclear missile at the United States. Just the one, just to test the water. So there's no action in the House of Dynamite. There's no solution. It's really about that period of uncertainty between the launch of the weapon and the weapon landing, and what are people prepared to do in that very short, that achingly short time frame, where they know almost nothing but have to make profound decisions that will affect the future of the world. If you're interested in what human beings will do under duress in such a scenario, whether they can keep it together, whether they can focus, whether they can use their intelligence training and their ingenuity and their empathy in order to further the cause of humanity rather than destroy it, this is a movie that you should probably watch. But don't expect any answers. Because maybe in the scenario presented, there is no right or wrong. Though if it were me, I'd destroy them all! Potent stuff, Lucas said.